Let me ask you something. Do you ever get that sinking feeling in your gut that you're just throwing money away on things that don't actually matter? Imagine this. Every impulse buy, every unplanned expense. You are not just spending money. You're literally selling a piece of your future freedom for a moment of temporary satisfaction. We've all been caught in this trap. We see something shiny, we want it, we buy it, and a week later, all we're left with is an emptier bank account and a quiet nagging sense of regret. But what if you could break that cycle for good? In this video, I'm going to expose the silent money killers that corporations and marketers want you to keep spending on. This isn't just about saving money. It's about taking back control from a system designed to keep you broke. Stay with me, because what you are about to learn could be the wake-up call that saves you from ever wasting another dollar again. I used to live in a constant state of confusion. I'd ask myself, where did all my money go? I worked hard. I wasn't buying yachts or designer clothes, but every single month I'd end up with almost nothing to show for it. The money just vanished. It was that sickening end of the month feeling of staring at a near zero balance, knowing you worked 160 hours just to end up right back where you started. It felt like I was running on a treadmill made of debt. Then one day I hit a breaking point. I sat down and forced myself to look at the cold, hard truth of my bank statements. And what I found shocked me. The problem wasn't my salary. It was an army of tiny thieves, these small, invisible expenses I was letting rob me blind every single day. I started digging for answers, and I found them in the wisdom of a man famous for his simple lifestyle and brilliant financial mind, Warren Buffett. Buffett said something that hit me like a ton of bricks. If you buy things you do not need, soon you will have to sell things you need. That single sentence was a gut punch. I started thinking about my daily routine. That $6 latte from the coffee shop every morning, I could make it at home for less than $1. I thought about all the times I was mindlessly scrolling social media and got sucked into a flash sale for some gadget I used once and then forgot. And here's the truly shocking part. Let's do the math on that coffee. $5 extra a day doesn't sound like much. Look, I'm not saying you need to live like a monk and deny yourself every pleasure in life. But I learned a critical lesson. Every single dollar you spend should be a vote for the future you want. It should move you closer to your goals, not push you further away. Billionaire Mark Cuban is a perfect example of this. He talks relentlessly about intentional spending. Before he made it big, he lived in a tiny apartment with roommates, drove a beat-up car, and refused to spend a dime unless he knew it was creating real value. The moment I truly understood that mindset, everything changed for me. I physically wrote down my goals: a small, peaceful home, an emergency fund that could cover my expenses for 6 months, enough money to invest in my future. Now, every time I'm tempted to buy something, I ask one simple question: does this get me closer to my goal? When your reason for saving is powerful enough, cutting back doesn't feel like a sacrifice anymore. It feels like a victory. Every dollar you save is another step toward the life you're building. Once I had that crystal clear vision, whether it was a comfortable retirement, a dream vacation, or just the freedom to not stress about money, every financial choice became ridiculously simple. I knew my destination, and more importantly, I knew my why. I realized this. When you have a destination, every step has meaning. No more impulsive decisions. No more spending just to feel good for a moment. Because I now understood every dollar I save today is a brick in the foundation of the future I want to build. There's a philosophy that stayed with me ever since. Something simple yet profound, often attributed to Leonardo da Vinci. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And that's when I started to see life through a different lens. A life of simplicity, not waste, not consumer traps, turns out to be the true path to freedom. I used to believe that living comfortably meant having more. But the truth is, when I cut out the unnecessary expenses, I discovered I needed far less than I thought. And that simplicity gave me more freedom than any luxury ever could. Before we dive into the silent money drainers in your life, take just 1 minute to ask yourself, what are you saving for? If you've never thought about that, now is the time. Because without a clear goal, cutting back will always feel like a loss. But when you have a reason that moves your heart, every saved dollar becomes a victory. The first leak I decided to plug was one I actually thought was saving me money: buying in bulk without a plan. I used to think grabbing a giant bag of trail mix or a dozen boxes of frozen meals at wholesale prices was smart. But then I'd forget that bag in the pantry, and by the time I remembered, it had expired before I even made it halfway through. So much for saving money. All I saw was waste. It's more common than you think. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, around 30 to 40% of all food in the U.S. is wasted every year. That's billions of dollars literally rotting in landfills, and I was part of that number. So what's the solution? It's incredibly simple. Plan before you buy. Only purchase what you know you'll actually use. If you live alone or have limited storage space, less but better is always the smarter move. Even someone like Jeff Bezos, the king of bulk sales at Amazon, once said that his success came from making smart decisions based on real data, not emotion. The same rule applies to spending. Buy with logic, not with feelings. This awareness of food waste naturally led me to look at where it was all starting. The grocery store. Anyone who's ever walked in planning to buy one item, but walked out with a cart full of things they didn't plan for, knows exactly what I'm talking about. Why does it happen? Because every inch of that store is a calculated psychological trap. The soft music is designed to slow your heart rate and make you linger. The warm lighting mimics the feeling of being at home, lowering your guard. The product placement isn't strategic, it's predatory. Even the shopping carts at Target or Walmart are oversized on purpose, so even when you've added several items, they still look half empty. That discounted cookie, that cute t-shirt hanging right at the aisle. It wasn't on my list, but it still made its way into my cart. All those just this once moments were adding up to a significant financial drain. But then I learned one simple, powerful habit. Make a shopping list before you go. And even more importantly, commit to sticking to it. This isn't just a minor tip. It's a discipline. And discipline is what separates those who are truly wealthy from those who are always hoping for a financial miracle. Warren Buffett once said, "It's not about what you buy. It's about how many things you refuse." That one line changed the way I think about money. The key to financial well-being isn't just earning more. It's about the discipline to say no. Making intentional choices free from impulse or emotional urges is the foundation of personal finance. One small habit I've adopted is never going to the grocery store when I'm hungry or exhausted. Because when you're in that state, your brain seeks instant gratification. You're far more likely to make impulsive purchases. Instead, I go when I'm clear-headed, armed with a carefully prepared list and a firm budget in mind before leaving the house. The result, not only do I save money, but I also feel empowered, like I'm in control of myself. That same discipline doesn't stop at the supermarket. It's a life skill. What started as a way to avoid unnecessary spending eventually taught me this. Managing money isn't about restriction. It's about intentional selection. That simple disciplined grocery list turned out to be a bigger lesson. It taught me not to throw my money at vague dreams, but to plant it in concrete reality. And there's no dream more vague, no financial shortcut more destructive than the one sold to millions every single day, the lottery. I've been there, just like everyone else, chasing that faint glimmer of hope. A couple of dollars for a lottery ticket seemed harmless, even thrilling. The promise of instant riches was seductive. But then I learned the odds. The chance of winning the Powerball, 1 in 292 million. You're far more likely to get struck by lightning than to win that jackpot. So every time I handed over a few bucks for a lottery ticket, I was trading certainty for illusion. And worse, it didn't stop at one ticket. Those small amounts week after week became another silent leak in my budget. Money that could have been planted in something real and growing. That's when I shifted my mindset. Instead of relying on luck, I started thinking about investment. It's not as flashy as $1 million TV check, but it grows, and more importantly, I'm not dependent on chance to change my life. Mark Cuban once said, "If you think buying lottery tickets is investing, you don't understand investing." He chose to invest in knowledge, discipline, and long-term value. And slowly but surely, that's how he built his wealth from the ground up. Once I stopped throwing money away on literal chance, I started seeing all the other small fees that were just as bad. Their small charges seemed insignificant at first. Maintenance fees, ATM withdrawal fees, or credit card interest. But they add up. In 2019 alone, Americans paid over $4 billion just in late credit card fees. And that is not even counting the soul-crushing compounded interest if the balance isn't paid in full. So let me share a mistake I used to make, and one you can avoid: credit card and banking fees. A $10 late fee here, a $30 overdraft charge there, and suddenly my budget was suffocating. That's why I made a change. Now I pay off my credit card bills in full and on time. I also started noticing invisible charges like monthly bank maintenance fees. Fortunately, digital banking has changed that. Today there are banks that charge no fees and even reimburse ATM withdrawals. Just by doing a little research, I now save hundreds of dollars a year. Don't let unnecessary fees rob your future. The next surprising lesson came from a place I never expected: the pharmacy. Most people assume brand name drugs are the only safe choice because they trust the label. But the truth is, generic drugs have the exact same active ingredients and are equally effective. The only difference? The price. A brand name drug might cost $30 while its generic counterpart is just $15. You get the same health outcome without draining your wallet. And then there's one more small but significant realization: restaurant drinks. That soda or cocktail, the price you pay is often multiple times its actual cost. A simple change, choosing water instead, can increase your bill by 20 to 30%. Not only is water the healthier choice, it's also the financially smarter one. Reevaluate how you spend, starting with the smallest habits. Every tiny decision today can shape a dramatically different tomorrow. But it wasn't just physical clutter I was paying for. My digital life was also quietly costing me a fortune through another trap I fell into, and one that many people easily overlook: unused subscriptions. Have you ever realized you're paying for something you don't even remember subscribing to? A streaming service you haven't watched in months. A digital magazine that fills your inbox but never gets read. These forgotten subscriptions are silent killers of your finances. A recent study revealed that 2/3 of consumers forget at least one subscription they still paying for, leading to an average of $240 lost each year without even noticing. That amount might not seem like much at first, but if invested or saved, it could make a meaningful difference over time. I came up with a solution: review and cancel what I don't use. Take a few minutes to go over your bank or credit card statements. Canceling them not only saves you money, but also gives you a sense of control over your spending. Subscriptions weren't my only blind spot. There was another silent leak I didn't notice for years, one that often appears when we travel. Take hotel Wi-Fi, for example. Many hotels still charge for it, typically $10 to $20 per day. Over a week, that's a sizable expense for a basic service. So how can you save? The answer lies in those free hotel loyalty programs. Major hotel chains like Hilton Honors and Marriott Bonvoy offer free internet access to members, no points, no minimum spend required. Signing up takes just a few minutes and can save you a good chunk of change. This naturally leads to another major travel mistake: booking during peak seasons. Holidays like Christmas and summer vacations see the highest prices. A hotel that usually costs $150 per night can easily double or triple. The solution is simple: plan early and choose off-peak travel dates. You'll get better prices and a more relaxed trip. And there's one more hidden cost to travel: international roaming. The price of using your phone overseas can be a shock. But these days, there are better options. Services like eSIMs let you access local data for a fraction of the cost. A little research before you go can save you hundreds. The same principle of matching your spending to your actual needs applies to big purchases too. For instance, buying a large car may seem like a smart decision. But if you live in the city, you are probably paying far too much for something you'll rarely use to its full capacity. Larger vehicles consume more fuel, cost more to maintain, and carry higher insurance premiums. The real value of a car isn't in its size, it's in how well it fits your lifestyle. After a long trip, I often find myself reflecting on the money I've spent hastily. There's one category of spending I deeply regret: expensive souvenirs. Statues, paintings, and large decorative items may seem elegant, but once you're back, they just sit there collecting dust. I've spent a small fortune on fancy keepsakes, only to realize they serve no real purpose. Instead of a massive sculpture, why not go for something small and symbolic? A fridge magnet? A keychain? These tiny items are inexpensive, easy to carry, and carry just as much memory. It was a powerful lesson in intentional spending. This mindset applies to investing too. Many people pour their money into high-fee mutual funds, thinking they'll outperform the market. But those management fees, they may seem small, but over time they can eat into a huge chunk of your returns. Just a 1% difference in fees could cost you tens of thousands of dollars over 20 or 30 years. Low-cost index funds often yield equal, if not better, results. Reassess every financial decision you make. Choose what's truly meaningful and delivers real value. Don't chase expensive illusions. Finally, think about gift giving. Every time I think about giving someone a gift, I remember the feeling of pouring money into the perfect item, only to see it go unappreciated. Maybe you've experienced that too. It's not just about wasted money, it's that pang of disappointment, but the value of a gift isn't about how much it costs. It's about the meaning it carries. Sometimes the most precious gift isn't something you can wrap. It's a moment, a shared experience. As Richard Branson once said, the value of time with family and friends is immeasurable. A heartfelt letter or a deep conversation holds far more power than anything you can buy. That's the language of love we all need to learn to recognize in life. Spoken not through price tags, but through presence, attention, and care. These stories remind me of how we make financial decisions in our everyday lives. Sometimes we spend without thinking, unaware that these small unconscious choices can slowly drain our wealth. That is why it is so important to remember what Warren Buffett once said. If you don't learn how to manage your money will manage you. Smart financial decisions aren't just about saving a few dollars here and there. They're about building a strong foundation for long-term prosperity and peace of mind. Now, I want you to ask yourself, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Will you continue the same spending habits? Or will you start applying these small, simple practices to take control of your finances and build a more secure future? The money you choose not to waste is the first step toward building your wealth and toward the financial freedom you've always dreamed of. And just like that, we've walked through a journey of understanding how certain financial habits may be quietly robbing you of the life you truly deserve. Each small decision you make today has the potential to become a turning point in your future. Remember, true value doesn't lie in fleeting material things. It lies in how you invest in yourself, in your experiences, and in what will bring meaning for years to come. Thank you for being with us. I want to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me the one thing from this list you're going to cut out starting today. Let's not just talk about it. Let's hold each other accountable. If this video brought you value, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe so you won't miss our next one. Let's build a community that's actively taking back its financial freedom together. Take action today because a better future begins with your smallest decisions.